So far, we had discussed about distortion, pulses. Now, when these pulses, or let's say, or any other signals which pass through a channel, and when it's detected in the receiver, one of the very important first thing that is done is something known as correlation. The receiver correlates the received signal with a known template. Later we will see match filter and other things that we'll discuss later. So it is important for us to understand these concepts of correlation and the associated spectral density, which is the Fourier transform of the correlation. We already you have studied from signal systems. It's just a brief revisit of signal systems, power signal and energy signal, right? So for example, a power signal, it's generally defined, let's say Vt is a power signal. Average power is defined as PV. It's defined as, this is the definition we use for define 2 equal to sign with a triangle on top, and this means inner product, inner product of Vt with V conjugate T, which is greater than equal to 0. The definition of this inner product means, inner product of Zt means limit t tends to infinity 1 by t. This is an integral from minus t by 2 to plus t by 2 zt dt. Integral in a principal value sense. Principal value means we go limit t tends to infinity, we have an excursion in the negative side and positive side, the same amount, minus t by 2 and plus t by 2. Fine. So that's why this is a power signal, limit t tends to. For energy signal, it is finite energy, you don't have this thing. Most practical signals, however, are energy signal. Noise is a power signal. It has infinite time duration with almost no periodicity, and we call it almost periodic function. Schwartz inequality, this will often encounter in various kinds of proofs, various kinds of bounds, which says that if you have two power signal Vt, Wt, their inner product mod square is less than equal to PV power of associated with average power associated with signal V times average power associated with signal W. Equality happens only when Vt is linearly proportional to Wt. Proof is very simple. We have already done probably. Just consider a prototype signal Zt, which is Vt minus Awt, and you calculate the power of associated with that new signal Z, Pz. Turns out to be equal to PV plus A conjugate PW minus 2 real part of A conjugate inner product of V with W. And this is greater than equal to 0 because it's a average power. Average power is always the term which is greater than equal to 0. I mean, there are one or two steps which I have skipped. Please try to derive them back at home. You choose A, which is inner product of V with W, normalized with respect to W. So A conjugate PW becomes this. If you substitute back here, we have PZ is PV minus A conjugate PW becomes this, and a real part of this, if you combine this together, you get this term, inner product of V with W mod square normalized with respect to PW. So if this is greater than equal to 0, we have PV PW, the product of the two average power must be greater than equal to the mod square of the inner product of between two signals. And from here you can establish, I have not done, that only when this holds true, that means it's linearly proportional, that means Zt is 0, Pz is 0, and you have an equality on both sides. So basically it's kind of projection, right? Projection of one signal over another, and this projection mod square of this projection, or this projection normalized with respect to PV and PW, the energy of the associated signals, is less than equal to 1. You have this cosine theorem and projection theorem and other things coming directly from this Schwarz inequality. It is a very basic inequality. Lots of several other definitions arise from this inequality. Okay. We move to cross correlation. Now you have two signals, V and W. So cross correlation of two signals, you see here inner product of V and W, inner product of V and W, and cross correlation with a parameter tau means I have a signal Vt. My template signal is for I have a received signal Vt. Template signal is probably W, and I do an inner product between them. If it's complex, we have a conjugate naturally, and with a delay of tau. So we have this concept known as stationary, and so it's basically T1 and T1 minus T2, where T1 minus T2 is tau, holds true for all T1. So it's stationary, then only you can define cross correlation. All those details probably have studied in signal systems. We'll again revisit them in random process. So this is the cross correlation between two signals delayed by tau. So this is the parameter tau. Tau is the delay, and you have magnitude square of that. It comes directly on Schwarz inequality from this. Magnitude square of that cross correlation is less than equal to the power average product of the average power of the two signals. Also, if you interchange V and W, so RW tau, you see from here it is conjugate of RVW tau. Autocorrelation. Autocorrelation is correlation of the two power signals where both signals are same except they are delayed by tau. Autocorrelation is defined by this. So you have one argument or V, one signal basically, tau. So inner product of V with Vt with Vt minus tau. When tau is 0, Vt V conjugate, inner product of Vt and V conjugate T. So that is basically the average power associated with the signal. So R0 autocorrelation is equal to the power, average power. It's left up to you to prove that this is the maximum value of the autocorrelation. At any other point, R tau is less than equal to R0. So autocorrelation has a maximum at the origin. We are not saying that it will not reach maximum at any other points. What we said is there will always be a maximum at the origin. It may be periodic, so it can reach maximum at other points, but it will not cross at any other value of tau the value of R0. Also, you have this Hermitian symmetry. If you have a signal delayed by tau with a signal, Vt minus tau, or if you just interchange them, T plus tau with Vt, then Vt with Vt plus tau, sorry. So we have a delay of minus tau and a delay of tau. They are related by conjugate of each other. So this is known as Hermitian symmetry. If it is a real signal, it's symmetric. Otherwise, it's conjugate. Conjugate is known as Hermitian symmetry. A common example, we have two signals with frequency omega v and omega w, amplitude CV and CW, complex exponential. The autocorrelation, if you try to calculate using the definition, is 0 when the two signals have different frequency. When they have same frequency, omega v is equal to omega w turns out to be CV CW conjugate with a delay e power j omega v tau. Omega v, omega w are same. Another example, zt is a cosine omega naught t plus phi. common signal used in communication systems. So RZ tau is, to try to calculate, turns out to be a square by 2 cosine omega naught tau. So you have a square by 2 and you have here the delay omega naught tau. The phase vanishes. You see here it reaches a maximum at tau equal to 0, which is a square by 2. It can have multiple maxima. It's basically periodic function. Also note that the phase does not appear in the autocorrelation function. Henceforth, signal for various signals you may have the same autocorrelation function. So autocorrelation is not a one-to-one mapping with signals. It's not unique. Corresponding spectral density, which you will see, is not unique. Various signals may have the same characteristics of autocorrelation or spectral density. Okay, coming to energy signal. Energy signal defined, let's say Vt. The energy of the signal is defined as minus infinity infinity Vt V conjugate T, or inner product of V with V conjugate. This is a definition of inner product in the energy sense. This is greater than equal to 0. Again, same definition, similar definition, cross correlation between two signals V and W with a delay tau is defined as Vt W conjugate T minus tau dt. We have the same similar inequality. So cross correlation between two signals with a delay tau mod square is less than equal to the average energy product of the average energy of the two signals. You can write this integral in the form of convolution, because whenever we deal with linear time invariant system, convolution operator comes into picture. So Vt W conjugate T minus tau dt minus infinity to infinity is basically, you can write this as V tau convolved with W conjugate minus tau. V tau convolved with W conjugate tau would be something different. So it's minus tau. So cross correlation can be expressed as convolution. This is very important. However, the arguments being tau and minus tau. This is very important. Difference between correlation and convolution. Autocorrelation. We have one signal with the signal delayed by tau. Auto means with itself. So Vt V conjugate T minus tau dt. Again, you can write this as convolution. This integral as convolution, which is V tau convolved with V conjugate minus tau. You have the same results. RV0 is EV, and at any, I think I need to correct this. At any point, we have RV tau mod square. RV tau should be mod of that should be less than equal to RV0. So we need this result of cross correlation. We need the second result of autocorrelation, inequality. Okay. Now coming to the important concept of signal passing through a channel. Let's say the channel is modeled as a linear time invariant system. It's very standard for a channel to be modeled as an LTI system. Linear system. If it's not linear, we can do the compounding operations that we compression and expanding operation that we know. By doing compression for a nonlinear system, you have around that point piecewise linear region of the transfer characteristics. Henceforth, we can then model the nonlinear channel as a linear channel. And time invariance over a short period of time is very standard for a channel. Channel is not fluctuating, rapidly varying, which rapidly varying things have different consequences. So a linear time invariant system can be modeled as impulse function ht. So you have the output yt as xt convolved with ht, or vice versa. If we know the autocorrelation of the input, we want to find out what is the autocorrelation of the output signal. Also, we want to find out what is the cross correlation between the output and the input. So Ryx tau, just substitute in the formula left for you to derive, is H tau convolved with Rx tau. Ry tau, the autocorrelation of the output, is H conjugate minus tau convolved with Ryx tau. Substitute back here, we have H conjugate minus tau convolved with H tau convolved with Rx tau. Very easy, just plug in the results of definition of autocorrelation, you will get the these results. So 1 or 2 steps, please try back at home, revisit your signal systems textbook. So now we define something known as spectral density. Spectral density of a signal X, let's say the input signal, typically denoted G, X, at a frequency F, is defined as such that integration from minus infinity to infinity, that means over the whole range of frequency, it provides the net Rx0. That means Rx0 is the total energy of the signal. So over the whole frequency band, if you integrate the spectral density, you get the total energy of the signal. GYF, the output signal, also minus infinity to infinity, GYF DF is Ry0. When a signal with spectral density GXF passes through a channel with spectral characteristics HF, where HF is the Fourier transform of HT. Impulse response, its Fourier transform is transfer function. If the output spectral characteristics is GYF, then what is the relation between output and input spectral characteristics? GYF is the input spectral characteristics multiplied by mod HF square, right? The transfer function, the channel response at that frequency, mod square, because we're talking about spectral characteristics density, gets if it's power signal, power spectral density, energy spectral density, so mod square gets multiplied to the input, and we have the output power, output spectral density. So this is the relationship between input and output. We can use Wiener-Khinchin theorem to derive these results. Wiener-Khinchin theorem, a very powerful theorem. Basically, it's the Wiener's theorem. Wiener's theorem relates the autocorrelation with the spectral density. Khinchin's theorem relates the autocorrelation of a random process with the spectral density of the random process. Wiener did for the deterministic case, deterministic signal. For the case where a signal whose Fourier transform is difficult to calculate or cannot be calculated, does not exist, yet we can calculate the spectral characteristics by using this methodology known as autocorrelation function. We have studied this in signal systems. Proof will not discuss here. So Wiener-Khinchin theorem, this spectral density is Fourier transform of the autocorrelation function. Fourier transform with respect to the parameter tau. Tau is the delay parameter. Recall that Rx tau is the delay parameter. It's defined as minus infinity to infinity Rx tau e power minus j 2 pi f tau d tau. Standard definition of Fourier transform. Thus, this form a Fourier pair Rx tau, Fourier transform you get GXF, inverse Fourier transform you get Rx tau. So if xt is an energy signal, then Fourier transform of xt is xf. So we have GXF is mod xf square, energy spectral density. This is energy spectral density. If xt is a periodic, let's say, power signal, need not be periodic power signal, but let's say periodic. You have studied periodic power signal. So xt is can be expressed as Fourier series in the form of fundamental frequency f naught and its harmonic in f naught with coefficient c at that particular frequency, and we have gxf, which is now known as, because it's a power signal, power spectral density, the summation equal to minus infinity infinity at that particular frequency. So delta f minus nf naught mod c square at that particular frequency. This is the delta function. So if it's a finite duration energy signal, finite energy signal, not finite duration, then this is x. So we have energy spectral density which is continuous. If it's a periodic power signal, it is expressed as Fourier series. We have power spectral density, which is basically, you have this impulses in frequency, and the value of the impulse at those frequencies are mod c square, mod the value of c at that particular frequency. So this is known as power spectral density. So you have energy spectral density, power spectral density. If this was not a periodic signal, then you have a continuous power spectral density, which is the case for a random noise. It's not, you do not have this impulse function, but something which is continuous over the frequency. You may have a periodic power signal with a superimposed over a non-periodic power signal, aperiodic or almost periodic signal, and you have combination of impulses and a continuous function. So all possible cases are covered under this scenario. Now you see what we have derived for the case of linear time invariant system. For example, the channel, when signal passes through a channel, the input autocorrelation function is Rx tau. The output autocorrelation, the autocorrelation of the output signal is Ry tau. We have Ry tau as H conjugate minus tau. This H is my impulse response of the channel, convolved with H tau, convolved with Rx tau. If you take the Fourier transform of H tau, we have HF. Fourier transform of H conjugate minus tau, we have H conjugate F. If you substitute back here, so Fourier transform of this Ry tau is GYF, output spectral density. Convolution means product. Fourier transform of Rx tau is GXF, and product of these two Fourier transform of these two guys are HF, H conjugate, which is mod HF square, which is the intuitive idea that if a signal with particular spectral density GXF passes through a LTI system, channel, filter, whatever it is, with a transfer function HF at that particular frequency, the output spectral density is mod HF square as modified by the transfer function at that frequency multiplied by the input spectral density. So this also acts as a proof of the Wiener-Khinchin's theorem, because this can be derived directly from definition. This is from the concept of energy or spectral density, and if Wiener-Khinchin's theorem holds true, then you have this relation, or vice versa. Okay, so this few things we'll need while we study about various spectral characteristics of signal or noise or other things. Along with that, we would need something known as band pass signal characteristics, band pass signals and systems, Hilbert transform. So that portion we'll cover in a separate lecture. Before we move to that lecture on band pass signals and systems, in the next lecture we'll discuss about some example of a link budget analysis. Thank you very much.